Hi everyone, this is Heather Lawton from the Flourish Academy. This is episode 514. We've been talking a lot about gear lately in the Flourish Academy membership, and people often ask me, hey, how do I know when I need to upgrade my camera? Or should I put my money into my camera or into my lens? And listen, if you want the really quick and short answer to this, you'll know. You will know when you have outgrown your gear because you will try to do something that your gear cannot handle. Let me explain this via a way of a story. When I first started photographing weddings, I shot my first few weddings with a Canon PowerShot G3. Yes, that is a point and shoot camera. I photographed these weddings for friends and family who didn't have photographers. My photos were better than nothing. I was not paid for these, but I had a point and shoot camera, and I thought that camera was amazing because I really didn't know any better. I wasn't into photography at the time. I had a newborn baby and I was working a corporate job. Well, I distinctly remember I was practicing with this camera, and I was out on my back deck of my old home with my husband, and I was trying to take photos that were sharp, with movement. And I didn't understand shutter speed, and I was just getting blurry photo after blurry photo, and I was so frustrated. And I said to him, I know that it is possible to get sharp photos of moving persons because professionals do it. Why do I not understand this? And obviously I was studying and I was trying to learn. You guys, it never occurred to me that it could be my gear. I was shooting with a Canon point and shoot that was probably a couple of $100. And for the most part, you do get what you pay for. And then at some point I realized, wait a minute, I know this is possible to take these sharp photos. I know it's possible to have different zoom lengths, but I also am starting to recognize that my camera can't do those things. So I'm going to need to upgrade to a new camera. Obviously, there are budget considerations, but I would say buy the best camera that you can afford. At that point, for me, it was a Canon 10D. And I thought it was a great camera at the time. We now know that that camera was a piece of junk. All right, it is now, but it certainly was not in, when did I buy that camera? 2003, I believe, maybe 2004. But could your camera be holding you back from taking better photos? Could your lenses be? Of course they could, because if you're shooting with, say, an entry-level Canon Rebel or maybe a Nikon 3000 series, maybe even the 5000 series, listen, they're okay cameras. They're okay consumer cameras, but you can't compare those photos to someone shooting with a Nikon D850 and a Nikon 70-200 lens, or a Canon 5D Mark IV with an 85. I mean, these are just completely different leagues of gear, and the price points are set accordingly. So there are some times when, yes, you're gonna have to upgrade your gear. If you're shooting with the 18-55 kit lens, personally, the only 18-55 kit lens that I have ever come across that has great quality and produces consistently sharp images is from Fuji. I'm not a fan of the 18-55 on either the Canon or Nikon. Again, it's an okay lens. Does it take the photo? Yes. Usually in focus? Maybe. But sometimes these images can be really soft, and your gear really could be holding you back. So at Camera Club tonight, we're going to be talking about focus. And again, we're talking a lot about this in the membership. And listen, if you want to take your photography to the next level, you should jump in the membership. Public enrollment is open for a very limited time. It is only $29. If you jump in there and it's not for you, who cares? You can cancel. You're only out $29. But I know that you're going to love it. And if you want to take your photos and your photography to the next level, there's probably something you need to learn that you just don't know yet, because you don't know what you don't know. So sometimes I'll have a photographer shooting alongside of me, and we'll have this beautiful scene, and they'll be shooting with a consumer camera, an 18-55 kit lens, next to a Nikon D750 with a Tamron 70-200, which is amazing gear. And my images are going to come out sharp, crisp, clear almost every time, unless I miss the focus, where a consumer camera with the 18-55, okay, again, in theory, it's producing in focus images that are mostly sharp, but these cameras also don't handle ISO, noise, or grain very well at these higher numbers. So for instance, I personally, and I don't mind grain. I embrace grain. It does not bother me. On my D750, I'll shoot up to ISO 5000, 6400 without too much thought. But I personally wouldn't shoot above ISO 1600 on a Canon Rebel. I think they handle grain terribly. I think they produce images that are not super sharp, that are somewhat soft. So if you're looking at your photos and you're comparing them next to your professional and you're not getting what you think you should, is it possible that it's your gear? Maybe you've outgrown it. Hey, and listen, the good news is you can sell that gear. There's a huge market for used photography gear. You could keep that camera as your backup. If you go somewhere like YM Camera, they take trade-ins. So if you have your camera and you say, I want to upgrade to maybe the new Nikon mirrorless, like the Z6 or the C7 or the Canon EOS R, that's their mirrorless, and you have your older camera, they will give you money for that, and that can go towards your newer camera. Personally, I think you should get the best gear that you can afford. And if you cannot, and by the way, as a side note, I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan, so I don't believe in debt. I don't think you should go into debt for your hobby or your business. I pay cash up front for everything. Weddings by Heather was built on the premise, and so is the Flourish Academy, of profit forward. So we don't take out debt. If I don't have the cash, I don't pay for it. But if you can't afford the camera that you want, at least this is the way my mind works, I think, how can I get somebody else to pay for it? All those friends that keep asking you for photos, could you maybe say to them, oh yeah, I'll bring my camera to your kid's birthday party for $50 or $100 or whatever, and find a way to get other people to pay for it so you can get your hands on the best gear you can afford. In general, you do get what you pay for. So if you buy a complete kit, that's a camera and a lens, and it's less than $700 or $800 or even $1,000, just keep in mind that quality is not going to be the same as a higher end camera with more expensive lenses. The next question is, should I invest in a camera or my lenses first? Well, lenses are definitely more long-term. I mean, you have them almost forever, and camera bodies change, but you do need a good camera body. So I don't think there's a straightforward answer to that question. I think it really depends on the current gear that you have. So I can't say, oh yes, you should. I mean, people do this. They say you should invest in lenses. No, you should invest in your camera. I think a lot of photographers would say you should invest in your lenses. You should get good lenses. But listen, if you put a $3,000 lens on a $200 camera, I mean, it's going to produce nice photos, but not the same as it would on a higher end camera. So my question to you is, have you outgrown your gear? Raise your hand. Do you have a camera that you're just not in love with anymore, and you know that you could produce better photos, you could get better results if you had better gear? And if that's you and that's the case, then let's work together to come up with a plan so that you can get somebody else to pay for it, so you can get the gear that you need. Because the faster you do this, the faster you get better gear and you improve your skill set, the more you grow as a photographer. And the best way to do that, I think personally, is to jump in the Flourish Academy membership, because we will hold your feet to the fire. We will say, get out there, take photos, make some money, even as a hobbyist. That's legal to do. We talk about that a lot. You don't have to have a business. Maybe you just love photography. Maybe you love photography, but listen, photography is an expensive hobby. Is there a way to get your friends to pay for your hobby? I say yes, there is, because they can give you a little money here, a little money there, and the next thing you know, you can buy the camera that you need and want. I also have this motto. I mean, is there such a thing as a photographer with too many cameras? I don't think so. I have, let's see, how many cameras do I have right now? 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4 cameras and I love them. Okay, one of my old D700s doesn't work anymore, but whatever. I loved it back in the day. I love having good gear. The reason is, if I can trust my gear, if I trust that I'm going to get a sharp image every time I fire it, for the most part, occasionally I miss, then my mind is like free to be more creative, right? If you don't trust your gear, or if you're always worried, am I getting this in focus? Is this sharp? Does this need to be calibrated? Is it going to be soft? It hinders your creativity, because you can't focus on your subject. You can't focus on creating a connection or relationship or being creative with your art or your composition because you're worried about your camera. I want you to get the best camera you can afford. I want you to learn how to use it, and then I want you to focus on your art. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.